Welcome to Confessions Beyond the Food. I'm your host, Nancy Ridlen. Let's dig in and get inspired. Welcome back to Confessions Beyond the Food, where we go behind the brand and into the real stories that you don't always see from the outside. In this episode, I'm joined with co-founders Rachel Oostman and Crile with KRMA Foods. That's pronounced karma, not KRMA, as you'll hear me learn in real time. We talked scaling a national pastry brand without losing your soul or your partnership, from QVC moments and tough 2020 lessons to the values that kept them grounded. Expect grit, grace, gratitude, and honest advice for building a business with a friend. Let's dive in. Hi, we're so excited to have Rachel Oostman and Crile in the studio today. They are the co-owners of KRMA Foods. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. We're excited.
So I randomly found Rachel because she reposted one of our podcasts, and I was reading about your LinkedIn page, and I just felt like a kindred spirit, and I was like, I have to talk to this girl. And so I'm so excited to have you both here and to learn about your story. So can you tell us a little bit about what KRMA Foods is?
Yes. And what I'll start by saying, it's actually pronounced karma. So we spelled it without the A. And we like when people announce it as KRMA because there's meaning behind it, but we do pronounce it karma. And it's really about karma in all of life. And I'll let Maureen talk a little bit about it.
Sure. We just really believe that whatever we put into the world comes back to us. We are very strong beliefs of the universe having our back, but we have to do our part as well. So what karma is we actually specialize in French pastry, and we service QVC online. We service a few gift-giving customers and some national coffee chains. So our focus is on laminated dough. So anything in the croissant world is kind of up our alley.
And it's really about bringing connection to the table. So when you have a pastry, aside from just, we're going to go pick up a pastry, goes, how can we spread our pastries and good vibes and good energy across the U.S.? And that is why we have karma.
Yeah, what fuels us is like the thought of having one of our pastries being eaten at a table somewhere in a different state and having people go like, oh my gosh, wow, or like ordering it for the holidays and like having some really strong moments of connection. That fuels us. And we just imagine all of the people having them little by little.
I mean, yummy. I need to try one. So
I'll do some.
That sounds awesome. I'll take you up on that. So tell me a little bit, how did your partnership begin and what made you realize you'd work well together?
Well, our partnership actually started because we worked together in our previous role. Maureen was brought in from a friend that she had for 20 years, and she always spoke highly of her and said, you'll love her, bring her in, we'll work together. I met Maureen and I said, not sure I love her yet. And it was more because I wasn't open to giving her a shot. We both have very big personalities. And so you have to put the ego at the door. And once we did that at our previous role, we became best friends and unstoppable. And so I think that was the way we met. It was through another person and coming into the same company together. And then later on, start our own company, KRMA.
I think it's interesting because we both, when in the previous role, we consistently would test identical on personality tests, very high level of aggressiveness and high dominance and high influence. And I think that's why it took us a minute to get to a point where we could be like, it's not competition. Like if we want to go far together, like we have to just like team up. And so instead of wanting to go fast alone, we went far together and continue to.
That's really awesome. I mean, women do that.
like, especially, I feel like especially women, we kind of size each other up and, our feathers kind of go up. Like, who are you? And so it's so, especially with a female that is so much like us, I can really identify that. And then, but yeah, once you get past that and you can find common ground and, wow, you can conquer the world. So that's a really amazing. So, but guys both lead with grit, grace, and gratitude. How do those values show up in your business every day?
So I think we didn't identify those values immediately. I think when things got difficult is when we realized, I don't think grit was part of my vocabulary personally. I don't know about you, Rach. Until like maybe a year into the business, a year and a half, when we realized we were losing a lot of money each year. We really didn't know how to find or North Star. And so I think maybe we read something. I don't even know how it came about, but grit came because we found how much resilience really we had in ourselves, which had never showed up in that way in our lives before. And it continued to show up because we both have full-time roles that we took on a couple of years ago because we wanted to continue to spread love and connection. And so we were both in the same space of dessert and pastries for big companies. And so the grit comes in when it's like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and we finished our 9 to 5, which is really a big 9 to 5. And then we have to work on karma. And the grit says we get to work on karma instead of that. Gratitude, grace, giggles. It's another big G.
Yeah. We always say grit, grace, gratitude, and giggles because really, if you don't laugh at yourself or along the way, so you're just not, it could be the toughest days and you just have to have those giggles, but you have to have gratitude of the opportunity to get you to where you're at, gratitude for the people who support you along the way, for yourself, that comes with the grace. And it's really, like Maureen said, the last 2 years is where we said, I've always been gritty. I was kind of trained like that, like a workaholic. You had to put the grit in. You got to have the backbone. It doesn't matter. You do it. But in this sense, it was a very different grit because it goes, do we keep our business or do we leave it? And once you then own up to that and you stay, then you got to get gritty and you have to make sure things get done. And that's how it shapes every day, because it just shows you that we all have it in us. Sometimes you just have to poke a little bit deeper and you have to go in a different way. And then going back to just gratitude for all that is the way to ground yourself through it all.
And grace is like all those little doors opening for us. The people that loaned us money, the customers that decided to trust us, our full-time job employers who decided to trust that we were going to do right by them in our 9 to 5 role and still have karma. It's like all of those little things that add up to being a lot of grace that we feel we receive from the universe.
Wow, those are great values to have for a company. And I think that I love how it all kind of started with the grit, because I mean, the hard times are what they can make or break you. But when you come out on that other side and you practice all the giggles and the grace and the gratitude, I mean, it just makes your team so much stronger. And I think if the ride is too easy, then I don't know if it's as fun, to be honest, but
it definitely wasn't too easy.
And it's true, because Maureen and I have always been really good workers. We never really wanted to be entrepreneurs. And so this took us to a different level of challenge that we were comfortable at being the overperformers in companies with people. We were comfortable making a lot of money. And then you have your own business and it completely changes everything you're comfortable with. And I think that you're right. That challenge and that grit that you have to have, not everyone has that in them. And when you do, there is a fire lit to keep going.
Yeah, and it can be super exhausting.
Beyond.
Beyond. So,
Yeah, sometimes we look at ourselves and we're like, remember like 2021, 2022. A lot of it is a blur, to be honest, because I think it was like about putting one foot in front of the other. And like each week, like we had a lot of money owed to suppliers, to actual loans that we took out. And every week we're like, okay, how much do we have coming in? How much can we afford to pay? And then like looking at that debt reduce week by week, it's a blur. And now we're like, oh, we did that.
Like, where was I in 2021? Because I think it was like an out of body living, like just getting through life. I don't know.
yeah, I think we all were. I mean, I don't know how we got through it. And so, so what has been the biggest challenge or learning curve of being a women-owned company in this industry?
As being a woman, I think what's interesting is that I think neither Rach or myself look at being a woman as like a challenge necessarily. Definitely in business, I think we both have a lot, like what we said earlier, we both have a lot of masculine energy when it comes to business. And so those were definitely helpful for us to push through. I don't know that there was necessarily a challenge. I don't know what you would.
I would say actually because we started the business in 2020 when things were just turning upside down. We literally started it right in the middle of COVID. And for us, it was more because we were women, we were more vulnerable in the way that we took our approach to customers. And I think that helped us. So at first it being a challenge of, oh, what are we doing? It was like people were admiring, why you're starting a business, you're out on your own. And then every time they told us we couldn't do something because it is a man's world in the food industry a lot. But if you show up authentic and vulnerable and just real, everyone wants a part of that. That's that energy where it's contagious. And so I think that energy versus it being a challenge for us, we took it and go like, what? There's no walls in front of us. Let's go.
I think TVC also leaned into it.
Yep.
They were like, oh, you're women's own. Like they were really seeing that as a huge opportunity. They marketed KRMA Foods on their website as a woman's own business. We actually got the certification. And so, I mean, no challenge for me.
That's awesome because you were authentic and you were yourself and not trying to be something you're not. And I think that's how I try to approach it is like, I'm just going to be myself and everybody has different strengths and, but we all have to work together. So what strengths do you think, and you might have already answered this, but what strengths do you think women naturally bring to entrepreneurship and leadership?
So I think the one of the biggest strengths that we found actually through our partnership was even though we used to show up with a lot of masculine qualities, we realized that vulnerability is actually going to get us number one, fully aligned in who we are and how we feel. And so there's a lot less resistance. Like, it's like, I'm not showing up to work in a challenging way or like, oh, I have to go to work. I have to fight. I think we just kind of learned, like you said, I'm just going to show up. We're just going to show up as who we are and the right customers will align and they will connect and it will resonate with them. And it's actually been mind blowing that being vulnerable, being true to ourselves, listening to our gut and our intuition and some of the relationships we had that didn't align. And the aggressive part of us was like, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it fit. Whereas the woman was like, it doesn't feel right. Oh, okay. Well, now what? And then we kind of realigned some of the partnerships we had and we're very happy.
We should have listened to that intuition that we have all along. Where were you that day?
Yeah. Listening to yourself is, I think, super important. Your gut, like, I just feel like my gut will be screaming something and I'll be trying to fight it or control it. And I'm like, no, you're being told, there's something wrong with this or right with this, and to lean into that because it's usually right. So, so what does each of you bring to the partnership that helps it work so well?
We bring a lot, but I think the most part, which we already kind of talked about, but it was the vulnerability, honesty, transparency, and there's no judgment. We always say, no matter what, we're going to speak our truth. And if the truth hurts you, then you got to go inward.
So I think another thing that is also important is back in 2021, when we were really wondering, are we filing for bankruptcy? Are we going to push through? It was really like a lot of dark days back then. We hired a business coach who helped us put together some principles. And so beyond our core values, we also agreed on some principles, which we printed and it was like in our office. And so, we're all on the same team is like the number one principle. And it really keeps us like grounded. Like it doesn't matter what Rachel says. I remember we're all on the same team. We all want KRMA to succeed is another principle. And we're all doing the best we can with our current capabilities and capacity. And so those principles kind of helped us shape some conversations and just keep pushing one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Without those principles, I don't think it would have gone as smoothly as it did.
Right.
Because those reminders, those principles, those cultural reminders of each other okay. And I had a hard time with the third partner who's no longer part of the company when they said, yes, she's doing the best she can. And I was like, that's her best? Like, I can't. And they're like, Rachel, you need to just understand what it means. And I had to really sit back and sit with it for months because I couldn't understand that could be someone's best. But then once I realized through capacity and certain situations, I said, okay, now I get it. And now it clicks. Now I completely get it. And I have more empathy for other people. And I think, oh, that's their best. That's great. It helps. It helped personally, professionally, in all of the realm.
Yeah, it's so hard. I think for me as a salesperson was going from being a salesperson and I controlled my destiny. Like it was just me. And then when you add other people into the mix, it's like you really have to learn to trust your team and vice versa. And so it was really challenging going from, especially when you have that hunter mentality, that sales drive. And so I can definitely identify with that. So how do you guys keep your communication strong when things get stressful or opinions differ?
I think that the communication is just open. Whatever comes up, if it's the hardest conversation and we're worried about what the other person says, then you need to say it. And I think that because of that is how we just don't, it's like you said, we're practically in a marriage with our company. We have to put it all in, and it's the same in a marriage. If you don't speak up, you later have resentment, you later regret something. And so we just put it all on the table and we show up with whatever we are that day and however it's going to, that I allow Maureen to respond however she needs to respond. And that's okay. And then we don't, we say, if you're suffering, we're going to tell each other, like, you're having a day, go inward, see what's causing that. And then let's chat again.
Yeah, we go back on those principles. We have agreed that if something doesn't feel right, the other one has the right and should say what doesn't feel right. Like when we are about to sign a contract, if something doesn't align and something doesn't feel good, we're not just going to shove that down. We're just going to be honest. And
we've had a few times where I know for a fact that I've taken a 360 on it. And I said, well, actually, I call her Frenchie, by the way. I say, oh, you know what? This isn't going to work for me. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, I just don't feel good about it, and I'm not going to agree to it, and this is not going to happen. And it could have been the path was already set, and I was like, nope, we're changing paths. And that has led us to where we're at today, which is being very true to ourselves, to our values, to our principles, but living with that peace of knowing I said everything I could, I did everything I could, and I'm showing up the best I could.
That's awesome. I mean, not only just for business partners, your coworkers and your bosses, and even that you're, like you said, marriage, for your marriage, if you're married, to, not push it down and to get it all out there. So, and sometimes they're very uncomfortable conversations, and it doesn't, for me, I don't know about you guys, but it just never feels right, like disagreeing with somebody. And so I like to be right. And so, and it's when it's somebody you care about, it's hard to have those challenges. So
I think it's also allowing us to go really, really deeper and get to a really vulnerable place. By being truthful and by not having surface level conversation, we're able to have a much bigger friendship, a much stronger partnership in business. I think it's made us grow a lot, grow up in some ways.
It's definitely special, and it's rare because it's not everyone wants to put the energy of the work into what it takes, and it is scary, and it's change, and it's processing different things, and it's just like any marriage. Like you said, you have people who are married for 25 years that should have been divorced 20 years ago. They just don't want to make they don't want to commit to what it takes to make the change or speak their mind. And we chose in our business, in our friendship, that this is going to be very open, and we're going to make sure that nobody has regrets or anger towards each other down the line, and no one goes like, oh, but you never shared that with me.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys recognize that, and you have a process to go through that with each other. I think that's really good advice for business owners. So, what's been your proudest we did it moment so far?
There's a few. There's some like big customers that we onboarded that when we got the first purchase order, we were like, oh my gosh, like that's huge. Or the first time we got on TV with QVC was huge. The way we did it with probably like the year that instead of losing money, we actually broke even. That was like, like almost like we did it, like not like a maybe externally huge achievement, but going from losing several $100,000 for a couple of years to like, okay, we stopped the bleeding. It's whatever we put in place this year is working, and this means that maybe next year we'll make money. Like, I think for me that was like the biggest, probably for you too. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was like, whew, we realigned, we saw our North Star, we're doing it, it's happening. Now we feel like we're in a good place. And the funny part is we both took other full-time roles in which we're highly invested in. And we spent a lot of our energy on that. And while we stepped away a little bit from our business to realign, we found the most alignment. And I think that's the funny part, because they say, there's that saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. And I think that's what happens. You get so caught up in it. And so that moment where we go, we're breaking even, and then we can make money. Like, that's a concept. Wow. And I think signing those customers, every time we've had a customer, we can't share their names, but any of the customers we have, and we go, oh my gosh, this is tripling our business or doubling our business, or we're able to do this. It's like, that feels really good. And we stick to our values. So we're not compromising to get those customers. The customers are aligned to everything that we are. And, it's our karma. At the end of the day, it is our karma.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to other women considering a business partnership or launching something of their own?
I'll start with this one because I always say you think you're going to business with a best friend. And Nancy, you said that you had no more partners anymore because you see that best friend in a different way and typically don't go as deep with them until you're in business. And then once you're in business, you need to trust but verify. And if you don't, then you have a best friend that is a distant connection in which you don't normally want to see their face anymore. And so I would say when you decide to go into business with someone, ask all the questions. Like look at the worst case scenario. When people say, oh, legally, we don't want to read an agreement, we'll never need it. That's when you need to read the agreement. That's when you need to double check it and put in all the clauses and say, if this were to happen, then what? And once you do that, because no one wants to do that. That's not fun. It's not the part where like, well, they would never do that to me. Well, never say never because you don't know until you know. And once you know, it could be too late. And so I would say trust but verify is one of the biggest advice I would say going into business with anyone. And if you could if we're a rare case, Maureen and I, but if you don't have someone that you can have that relationship with, try it on your own.
Yeah, I think asking all the questions, like go to like the worst case scenario. Like let's say the funding runs out. Let's say we have to not take a salary for 2 years. Let's say X, Y, and Z is happening. Like what's plan B for your business partner? How does that affect their families? And like really go dark almost to make sure that you are in alignment with the plan. Is the person going to call it quits after 18 months? And you're like, well, hold on a second. I'm not ready to call it quits. Like have the difficult conversations up front. If you can have that in an operating agreement, even better, because then whatever you agree on is you've signed, sealed. So yeah, and then after that, you can kind of focus on the business once you are in real alignment with your business partners.
It's kind of like I went through premarital counseling even before I got engaged. My husband was like, we're going through some tough stuff before we figure out if this is the path that we should go down on. And so I love that advice for potential business partners because, it is challenging. It's a marriage. We talked about it several times, but you're sharing a bank account. You're sharing your livelihood, your time. And in y'all's case, you already have other jobs. Time becomes a thief and it can make people bitter. There's all the different scenarios that can come up, but these are really good advice. I remember my stepdad saying, just make sure you know who they are. Do you really know them? And 10 years ago, I'm like, yes, I do. And I mean, I love, these were incredible women. And so, but I'm so encouraging to see y'all's relationship and what you've done with your business. I mean, really big kudos to QVC and all these customers. So, okay. And this might be a confession. I'm not sure, but so if your partnership had a theme song, what would it be?
The one we always sing and dance to. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I always forget the name of it.
It's Play Hard by Neo.
By Neo.
Work hard and play hard. That's our theme song.
We've been dancing to that for many, many years.
Roots for a decade. Yeah.
That's awesome. Man, I just want to hang out with you guys. I mean, I feel like, and I don't know if it's my generation or whatever, but I mean, you just had to work hard. I mean, that was just you got there early, you stayed late, I don't know if that was a generational thing, but I feel very kindred spirits with you guys. So
likewise.
And just that culture. So, do you guys have a confession? Any additional confessions?
I think I'll piggyback off of what you just said. My confession would be, I thought I had everything figured out in my early career and big roles very early on, degrees. And I think I had a strong ego. And I would say this has definitely and continues to show me I have nothing figured out. I'm realizing some things we were discussing this morning, like some attention things that I'm like, I'm realizing there's always going to be more growth. The journey is just beginning. And I'm able to say that and feeling strong and feeling strength coming from it, as opposed to maybe 10 years ago, I would have never admitted any weakness or anything like that. So that's my confession.
That's a great confession. Well, I'm more quirky, so I like to share the quirky part of me. So my quirk, I have terrible handwriting, and it's gotten worse though I write all the time. And people like my mom's like, I can't read what you wrote me.
I can't read your cards.
And so now I've been doing this thing. I can write upside down, which is just weird, but I can write upside down quite quickly. And so now my upside down writing is better than my normal handwriting. So in the future, when you get a handwritten note from me and it looks like a 5-year-old wrote it, it's because I wrote it upside down.
I picked her up yesterday from the airport and she throws this card at me about gratitude. And I'm like, what is this? She goes, read it. And I'm like, I can actually read it. And she goes, I wrote it with my left hand.
Oh, yeah, I did write that one with my left hand. Yeah.
Who would have thought? Well, that's a really fun confession. I mean, both of you guys, I mean, y'all are just, what lights you are to this industry and just in the little time that we've had together. And I would love to talk to you guys again because I feel like there's so much more I want to ask you guys. But I really appreciate you guys coming on the show today. And any final thoughts or that you guys want to share?
I would love to come back.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
One thing that I had in my mind that I wanted to share to end it is when you said about business partners, and I'll just quickly say, is that when someone once told me, they said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I think that even when you first meet people, so Nancy, we connected right away. I loved your energy. I was listening to your other episodes on the podcast, and I was like, yep, my energy's aligned. I protect my energy, but I bring people in who have that same spirit. And I think that's one really good test is when you see someone for what they are, believe them.
That's great advice. And I just want to say thank you guys for just what you're bringing I'm serious. Like, thank you for what you're bringing to the industry and showing how a healthy partnership works. And as women who, I think you're beating the odds about both having the same scores, whatever scores you sales scores, whatever you rank. But that's an incredible accomplishment. So thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to having you guys on again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
For more inspiration, follow our social media at W3 Sales. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You know, all the things. We would love to connect with you.